What's up guys, welcome to the Metal Roofing channel, welcome to Q&A Mondays. In today's video, we're gonna be learning about Sharkskin Ultra SA Underlayment, its technical specifications, product uses, and why Sheffield Metals stocks and recommends it and requires it for our weather-tight warranties. Hey guys, I'm Thad Barnette and I've got Jeff Hock from the Sheffield Technical Department here. Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Thad.
So we're talking about Sharkskin Ultra SA. If I'm an installation contractor, maybe I have or haven't heard of Sharkskin in the past, and I want to purchase it from Sheffield Metals or use it for a Sheffield warranty. Can you explain where it sits on the Sharkskin kind of product line, and then what type of underlayment it is?
Yeah, so I mean, on the good, better, best scale, it's probably the best when it comes to a waterproofing underlayment that Sharkskin offers. And it's a self-adhered peel and stick underlayment product.
What other products in the industry is it comparable to? You know, if someone's never heard of Sharkskin Ultra SA before, what is it kind of an alternative for?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of peel and stick self-adhered underlayments on the market. Again, you know, with any products, there's good, better, best, but I would put Sharkskin Ultra SA up there with, like, you know, the Grace Ice and Water Shields, the Grace Ultras, the premium self-adhered peel and stick underlayments. There's a lot of features and specs to it that it's able to accommodate a lot of different scenarios, and I'm sure we're going to talk about them. But, you know, it's a high-end premium self-adhered underlayment.
Okay, yeah, let's get into some of those product details. You know, talk to me about, you know, how many squares you get in a roll, the lifetime of the product, its warranties, that kind of thing.
The Sharkskin Ultra SA is for self-adhered. It comes on a 5-square roll, which is 2.5 times bigger than your typical roll. You know, it has all the ASTM specs, the nail sealability, things like that you look for. It has a 12-month UV exposure rating. And what that means is that once you put the underlayment on, there's a maximum amount of time that you have to put the primary roof covering over it and still keep your warranties intact. And, you know, obviously, you know, as well as the life of the product and the performance of the product, a lot of companies out there or products out there will have a 90-day or 3-month or 6-month UV exposure rating. Sharkskin comes with a 12-month exposure rating. We can talk about maybe why that's important a little later. Limited lifetime warranty, split release backer lining paper, doesn't have a salvage edge, so you're able to do multi-directional with it. There's a lot of pros and cons to it, as well as the installation temperatures and substrates it's able to be installed on. Okay,
and yeah, 5 squares is a pretty good size for a roll. Is it you know, manageable to install on the roof? You know, what's the thickness of the product, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think if I'm correct, I want to say each roll weighs about 70 pounds. So it's not ridiculously heavy, but one of the nice things about a bigger roll is less laps on your roof, right? When you're rolling it out, there's going to be less laps because you're not having to start and stop as often, depending on the size of your building. And, you know, it's less stuff I got to carry up a ladder to get it on the roof, right? So that's one of the benefits to the roll size. You know, I'll mention now, just so I don't forget it later, is, you know, one thing I tell people when you're comparing costs of underlayments, you have to kind of break it down to a per square price, though, because if you compare it roll to roll, obviously there's going to be a cost discrepancy just because, you know, of the amount of Sharkskin you're getting on 5 squares versus 2 squares.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, that's something that I've heard from customers before is, yeah, they're kind of that sticker shock, but they don't realize that there's 5 squares in a roll.
Right. Yeah, no, it's definitely a sticker shock if you don't know to compare it to apples. Like I said, I tell everybody, break it down to a per square price, and that way you can get a good estimation of what your costs look like.
Definitely. And, you know, when you're paying for Sharkskin Ultra SA, you're paying for that premium product. Tell me why Sheffield Metals recommends Sharkskin Ultra SA for the majority of our projects, and then kind of explain some of those features that we talked about that really end up benefiting a contractor.
I mean, I'll just start off by saying, and I think most people familiar with Sheffield know this, you know, we're not a roofing supply house. We don't have 10 different products that we keep in stock. But, you know, from a warranty side of things and from a sales side of things, we do projects all across the country, out of the country, things like that. I need a product that I know is going to basically have the ability to work in all the different environments I'm going to encounter across the country. Whether I'm doing a roof in beach in Florida in July or a project in the mountains in Colorado in December, those are two very different temperature swings and things like that you have to account for. And one of the things is the application temperatures when it comes to using Sharkskin. There's never really a concern too much about whether it's too hot to put the underlayment down, but there is a concern when it comes to temperatures being too low for the product to stick. You can install Sharkskin Ultra SA with temperatures as low as 10 degrees and rising without using a primer. One of the benefits there is, depending on where you're at in the country, 20, 30 degrees, you might not get above that for 2-3 months, right? So I don't have to use an additional primer that I have to pay for, that I have to pay labor to apply, that I hopefully, get down right. So it's just one of the things as far as the ease of benefits of being able to use the product in more scenarios, in more locations across the country. We'll talk a little bit about the 12-month UV rating. Most of the time you're probably, hopefully, if everything's going well, you're not going to have to leave your underlayment exposed for 12 months, right? But listen, project delays happen. If a project delay happens and it pushes you over that potentially 3-month mark, well, now you should get your underlayment inspected by the manufacturer, and then they'll basically approve or deny whether or not you can move forward with the project or if you have to replace the underlayment. I don't think you have to have that happen too many times before you start looking for something with a longer UV rating because, it could cause delays and extra costs and things like that to your job. And if you're in that scenario, you're probably already dealt with delays. You want to get back to putting your roof on as quick as possible. The other scenario I kind of see it in is, especially you think about places like Florida that have hurricanes, weather events, things like that. And there might not be enough roofers to go around and get all the houses taken care of and back to a leak-free condition in a solid time frame. With the 12-month UV exposure, you can, if you're a contractor, you have several contracts that you're trying to get to, you can at least go and dry those buildings in, get the roofs to a watertight condition, and then wait to come back and roof them. So that's another one. One of the things I always look at with underlayments is warranties. Sharkskin has a limited lifetime warranty. I'm a big believer in that because, with our weather-tight warranties, we have to sometimes stay on the hook for 35 years. Some underlayments out there have 10 or 20-year warranties, and it's like, well, if you're not willing to stand behind your product for 35 years, I don't want to be responsible for standing behind your product for 35 years. So warranties are a big part of what we look for in our systems. And then the biggest one that I'll talk about is substrates, right? A lot of underlayments out there, you'll see installation and requirements for over wood or OSB. There isn't a substrate that I haven't been able to use Sharkskin directly to, which is nice. And also, we do some things where we have to tie into EPDMs, TPOs, things like that. Sometimes different products you have to worry about off-gassing if they touch each other and whatnot. It's been able to perform in all the scenarios that I've come across with the different materials that sometimes these applications use. So it's just an all-around my go-to product because it's so far it's been able to do everything I needed to.
Yeah. And, speaking of that substrate application, a couple other things that I hear from contractors are when it comes to underlayment, how sticky is it for that self-adhered underlayment? And then how easy is it to walk on it?
The adhering part of the self-adhered is pretty big with us. I've seen some underlayments that, I've seen Post-it notes that are stickier than some of the underlayments that I've looked at. You don't want to stick Sharkskin Ultra SA to anything you don't want it stuck to because once it's down, it's down. It adheres very well. And the surface of it also is very walkable. It seems to hold up well for foot traffic as well. It doesn't break down where you might have a lot of foot traffic in some areas, say where you're getting off the ladder onto the roof, things like that. Guys are stepping and turning their feet. It doesn't break down very easily to where sometimes other underlayments break down, and it'll almost make those areas a little slick the way it is. No, like I said, it holds up real well. It's a very good performing product. Contractors give great feedback on it from the ones we do weather-tight warranties with, and we turn a lot of people onto them, and they continue to use them on non-warranty projects.
And then I think one of the last things I'm going to ask about this is, supply. Where can people buy them? Are they stocked in Sheffield locations? What's that like?
Yep, we stock it in all of our locations. It's all available. Availability shouldn't be an issue if you're buying from Sheffield, whether you are near a branch or if it's being shipped to you. We have it on the floor. We keep it in stock. should have available whenever you need it.
Awesome. So did we miss anything when it comes to, what a contractor needs to know about Sharkskin Ultra SA?
One of the things I think about if I was a contractor, what I would look for in a product is I want to look for a product that I know is going to perform and that makes my project easier to accomplish. I don't want to have a product that's going to give me headaches. I don't want a product that I'm going to have to wonder about how it's going to be in 5 years. I want something that I know is going to perform the best. And honestly, with an underlayment, when it comes down to it, while it's not your primary roof covering, it is your main secondary defense of water infiltration into the building envelope, right? So using a product that you know and trust to keep that water infiltration from coming in the building as a last resort, that's not something I'm probably shopping around for every time. I'm going to have a product that I know and trust, not just for the homeowner, but also for my business to keep us both safe, right? Because at the end of the day, that's my name that's going on that project. I want to make sure that the owner, whether it's a homeowner or commercial building owner, is getting the best product I can provide. And I am also protecting myself from calls later on, for any issues that might arise.
Yeah, it's one of those extra layers of insurance that you don't want to skimp on.
That's it. It's metal roofing's all about belts and suspender systems. Two is one is none type mentality, and the more you can do with building in secondary protections and using quality products, because standing seam is a premium product. It deserves premium accessories that go along with it, right?
100%. All right. Well, thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate the info.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
If you have any questions, comment down below or visit SheffieldMetals.com to learn more about Sharkskin Ultra SA. Subscribe here to the Metal Roofing channel. As always, I'm Thad Barnett. We'll catch you next time.